Welcome to today's Medical Minute with Dr. Ray Andrew. Cancer care in the United States has reached a crisis point. President Nixon declared a war on cancer back in 1971. Since then, tens of billions of dollars have gone into research to eradicate this evil villain, and yet all that mainstream medicine has to show for it is the same three treatments: surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation. Take a look at this following report that came across my desk today. It is shameful.
This report was done for MedPage Today by Ian Ingram, called Pharma Making Big Dollars Hand Over Fist on Oncology Drugs. This is based on a study that was published in JAMA Network Open, that's Journal of the American Medical Association. Blame for the hefty price tags on cancer therapies is often pinned on research and development. In other words, the drug companies are always saying, yes, the cost of our drugs is so high because it costs so much to develop these blockbuster drugs to save lives. But on average, pharmaceutical companies made over 10 times what the agents cost to develop. Average cumulative revenue of $14.50 for every dollar spent on research and development. That's a huge return. I would love to have that return. That's an unbelievable investment return. So, of all the drugs studied and reported on in the year 2017, half of them were chemotherapy drugs. That's unbelievable. Do you think that's because cancer is the only problem we're dealing with in America? Or that it's half of the problem of the medical problems we're dealing with? Not on your life. Perhaps it's because cancer drugs are the most profitable drugs. Far more profitable than heart disease, for example. Along with restricting patients' access to these drugs, high prices have compromised the sustainability of health systems across the world. Let's take a look at some specifics. Now, I'm not going to try to pronounce all these drugs because I don't want to sound like a fool, because they make them so complicated. But here we have one, $22 return on investment for every dollar of research and development. Another one, $22, $29, $31, $33. And then looking at total revenues, here's one in 2017 that had made $64 billion. Another $64 billion, $83 billion, $88 billion, $94 billion. Imagine what could be done to the federal debt. Imagine what could be done for education. Imagine what could be done for poverty. With these hundreds of billions of dollars, our society is spending on drugs. Not just drugs, but drugs for one problem: cancer. Pharmaceutical companies' pricing strategies were largely based on commercial goals rather than the clinical value of a given agent. How interesting. You would think that these blockbuster drugs would be saving lives right and left, and that one drug would command such a high price tag because it just saves thousands, if not millions, of lives. But no, it's totally unrelated. The prices are based on how much money the drug company is trying to make. In case it's not obvious by now, the cancer industry alone will soon bankrupt America if we don't leave this train at the next stop. Think about this with me for a minute. Thousands and thousands of people across America have been walking, running, riding, swimming, and buying all kinds of pink trinkets for the cure for many years. ordinary people sacrifice their hard-earned money with the illusion that a little more money will deliver the Holy Grail, the treatment that will end cancer as we know it. What makes all these people think that drug companies need any more of their money to come up with the cure? With profits like we just saw, do you think drug companies want to find the cure? Are you kidding me? Mind you, we are talking about life and death here. So if these drugs can save lives, maybe they're worth it after all. So let's take a look at what we're getting for all this money. Here we have a study published in the Journal of Clinical Oncology in 2004, entitled The Contribution of Cytotoxic Chemotherapy to 5 Years Survival. So these three authors, oncologists, cancer doctors, sought to determine, looking at all the available quality studies performed to date, how much chemotherapy has contributed to 5-year survival of those with cancer. Their conclusion was the overall contribution of curative and adjuvant cytotoxic chemotherapy to 5-year survival in adults was estimated to be 2.3% in Australia and 2.1% in the USA. Yes, you read that right. Chemotherapy improved survival at 5 years by 2.1%. Cytotoxic chemotherapy only makes a minor contribution to cancer survival. Mind you, this isn't me talking, this is 3 oncologists talking. To justify the continued funding and availability of drugs used in cytotoxic chemotherapy, a rigorous evaluation of the cost effectiveness and impact on quality of life is urgently required. Do you think that's happened in the last 15 years since this was published? Not on your life. Friends, we've been had. If you or someone you love has been diagnosed with cancer, don't allow yourself to be bullied into undergoing chemotherapy. Ask the hard questions. When the doctor says that this treatment improves 5-year survival by 30%, ask for the numbers that really matter. It's called the number needed to treat and the number needed to harm. In other words, how many patients have to take this drug for how long for one patient to benefit? How many of these same patients will be harmed by the drug during that time? This is what really matters. If 120 people have to take the drug for every life saved, that means that 119 of them will either live or die regardless of the treatment. At the same time, if 79 of them die a miserable death from chemo side effects and complications, you have to decide for yourself whether the potential benefits outweigh the risks in your case. And don't believe anyone who tells you this is your only hope of surviving your cancer. There are numerous other treatments that focus on healing the body and strengthening the immune system rather than killing cancer, which more often than not kills the patient in the process. Now let me make something clear. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm only here to give you something to think about. Base your decisions on facts, not emotion. Ask your doctor, what percentage of your patients who take this drug for this cancer are alive and healthy 5, 10, and 15 years later? It's your body and your life, not the doctor's. This is Dr. Ray Andrew. Thanks for listening.